Don't say that to me. I'll be laying down on that thing. Look at that.
Fancy chairs.
Yeah. Wow, we're going to record on this and that.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a crazy ancient recording device because it usually takes film, but I have to record to a card through this whole apparatus, and it's just like, it's all that.
I don't care. My life is relatively easy. I'm old. Call me Dustin Hoffman. What was the name of that movie? Little Big Man.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
It's a great flick.
Oh, God, I love that movie. I know none of you know what Little Big Man is, do you?
That was the movie where like the guy was an Indian tribe and he went out.
It's a 100-year-old man. It starts off. Watch the movie. It's a good movie. At least I thought it was a good movie. And I'm the final arbiter.
Okay.
What would you like me to say?
I hope you recorded that.
Oh, I did.
Oh
actually.
my God, it
It's
had
all good.
garlic from lunch. Oh, shit. Oh, God, and my face is melting from the smell of that. I'm sorry. Whew, that was tough. The only voiceovers I've ever done in animation were Burp talking. That's why I did that. I Burp talked for Malcolm in the Middle, Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy, all the really great television shows. And
The highbrow ones.
yes, the ones that really challenge your intellect.
Well, I like those shows. Okay, well, let's get started. So,
I'm here.
what brings you to Chico State?
Well, I came up here because I heard that it was no longer a party school and that you were aspiring to be cerebral and to do things at an intellectual level. And I thought that I could raise the level of intellectualism in Chico by farting and burping and saying all kinds of clever, mindless things. No, I'll answer seriously.
I was like, that sounds like a
I've been
good answer
serious.
to
I
me.
had to get it out of my system. I had to get it out of my system. I came here because anytime I have an opportunity to speak to college students and to give them a sense of what the world of media is and what the world of work is and what it takes to actually run a happy, fulfilling, creative life, I'd like to take those opportunities. I mean, I've had the incredible great luck and good fortune to have led a pretty rich, really successful, not financially as much as it is experientially. I mean, and I want to encourage everyone else to do the same thing. We need more people in the world who are interested in fixing the problems rather than trying to be interesting by doing something cool. That's my philosophy.
So, what first inspired you to start a career in video production?
Well, I'm a businessman.
Okay.
And I operate on an economic level. And in the 1980s, I was working for a big corporation, and we were buying and selling a lot of media companies. And I realized that no one really knew what was going to work. No one could predict what movie was going to work. No one could predict what television show was going to be successful. And no one could predict what music was going to be successful or what artist was going to be successful. So it was kind of a crapshoot. And as an economist and an analytic businessman, I looked at that world and was like, wow, you can turn air into money. Air meaning an idea. And I watched Sonic the Hedgehog go from a rejected proposal and presentation at the company that I was working for to a multi-billion-dollar industry in 2 years, and no one predicted that. Everybody in the room who was part of that presentation said it'll never work. And it turned out to be the biggest thing in the world. So I figured I'm pretty creative. I know creative ideas when I see them. I'm a pretty good sifter. And I just thought, I can probably figure this out as much as anybody else. And then when I got into it, I realized that I'm also a pretty good writer. And I'm funny. And I understand dramatic structure. So it was primarily economic. And then as I got more into it, and as I'm getting more into it, I'm realizing that I have an obligation to actually show people how to use media to fix some of the problems of the world, which I think we can.
So you say you're a businessman. What exactly does your job title entail? Like, what exactly do you do?
Stuff. Well, first of all, I'm not normal. So I'm not the traditional Hollywood producer. I'm not the traditional Hollywood studio or network executive. I kind of make my own way. I finance my own stuff. I try not to go into the Hollywood system. And so that's about half of my life. Half of my life is figuring out ways to either create a cool show that will be successful, or to figure out another way to finance or distribute movies that will be successful. And then the other half of my life is just general business. I mean, I have a bunch of other business interests that include, a bank and an advisory company in West Africa, and a medical technology business, and a creative incubator, an internet incubator that I've created and started. So, I have different things that I'm working on, and they're not all in the media business. Some of them are in general industry.
Okay, so what was it like working on Workaholics?
The thing about Workaholics is it's kind of an anti-show. It doesn't conform to conventional structure and story format. It's essentially following three guys who don't have any velocity in terms of what their lives are. They're basically lost souls. And they're lost, but they're okay with being lost. They actually find ways to have fun being lost. And I think one of the reasons that the show works on a macro level is that a lot of young people have the same feeling, that there's an anomie, there's a sense of what's out there in the world for me. Is there, should I have big dreams? Am I allowed to have big dreams? Or should I just go take a job and continue to have fun and live the life I was living when I was in high school or college? And I think that's the audience and demographic that it plays to. I think it's funny for 13 to 25-year-old guys. I don't understand how women think it's funny, but apparently they do, because they probably know guys like that. And I would love for it to run forever.
What was it like working on The Simpsons?
Well, The Simpsons is a machine. It's like a giant freight train. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to kill it. I mean, I was on that from seasons 9, 10, 11, and 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And The Simpsons is its own world and culture. It's very defined characters. The characters have been established over 10 years when I was working on it. Now it's 25 years. So finding funny situations and funny lines and funny circumstances for those set of characters is, not complicated. It's really not that hard, because it's because they're such well-defined characters. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's pretty hard to mess something like that up.
How do you still watch the show? Do you still watch The Simpsons?
I watch The Simpsons and Family Guy. I really like King of the Hill. I think Dr. Katz was still one of my favorite shows because it was a little bit smarter. I think South Park is by far the funniest and smartest show that is on television. And I think it's the most fearless show. I think Matt and Trey are absolute geniuses at being fearless and relentless in their social satire.
Do you feel like there's comparing the newer episodes of The Simpsons to the older ones, do you feel that there's a change in like writing style, or like do you feel like the quality of the newer episodes still stand up to the older ones? Because there's a lot of contention about that.
Well, first of all, it's being consumed by a different society. So The Simpsons, what was really compelling about that from a business point of view is that it's one of the few shows on television that has a bell curve distribution in terms of its audience. It's almost pure bell. So there are as many pre-12-year-olds as there are post-55-year-olds watching that show. It has a really even distribution in terms of its audience. So when you have that wide of an audience appeal, it's really hard for you to sustain, the edges. It's really hard for you to sustain the edges of that demographic because the edges of the demographic are all changing, and they're changing more rapidly than the center. And so, a 55-year-old is not going to watch The Simpsons as much as they would have 10 years ago because they were watching it with their kids. So they're probably not watching it with their grandkids. The 12-year-old isn't watching it because they're watching, whatever else it is that they're watching. And they don't have the same consumer options. They're watching YouTube. They're on the internet. I mean, Toby Turner. I mean, they have YouTube personalities that are more interesting to a 12-year-old today. So I think it's hard to compare them. It's like comparing baseball players or basketball players or football players from one era to the next. I think it's hard, mostly because taste and values and because the game changes. It's that simple. It's still funny. It's really hard to be funny that long with one set of characters. I mean, think about it. All in the Family was on for a long time. MASH was on for a long time. Married with Children was on for a long time. It's hard for those shows because they're live action to sustain themselves because the actors age and they're just not as funny. I mean, it's just harder to continue to look at Bud in, Married with Children as being a young adult. He was 38 years old and he's playing an 18-year-old. I mean, come on. We all were like laughing at that. So I think that's as much, that's it as much as it is anything else.
Okay, tell me about one major obstacle you faced in your career, and how did you overcome it?
I think everybody has the same obstacle in a way, and that is you have to understand your personal story. And I encourage, if I'm talking to anybody on a one-on-one basis, it's this. Understand and embrace everything that has happened to you from your earliest memories. Really understand that. Understand who your family is, understand who your parents are, understand the dynamics of your family situation, and understand all of the things that happened to you as you were a young person, pre-college, and then in college to a great degree too. And the reason for that is that's where your personal barriers and your personal holdbacks are going to come from. The fears and the bad habits or the good habits that you picked up then are really going to be the things that you have to overcome as an adult. And they're going to be the things that hold you back. So for me, to answer your question directly, the hardest thing was overcoming the fact that I grew up in an Irish neighborhood in Pittsburgh. My mother was the Irish maid who became a school teacher. But, you know, we didn't have a lot of money or resources. We were relatively poor. You know, we were rich in relatives. We had, you know, I had 75, 80 kids in my generation. They were all my best friends. But we grew up in a really crappy neighborhood in Pittsburgh. And overcoming all of understanding, embracing, and then transcending those stories and those links are the things that are really hard. I mean, I grew up in a deeply racially charged environment. My family and my grandparents were racist, and it was totally acceptable then. You know, this is the 1950s Pittsburgh. I realized really early on through athletics and academics that actually the cool people were the people of color. You know, the other Irish guys were just big, dumb, stupid, drunken Irish guys just like my brothers. And it was like, oh, they're not going to teach me anything. And so I figured out how to transcend that anchor, which could have held me back had I not actually taken the time to actually think about it. I mean, I've traveled extensively, more than I probably should have. I mean, at the expense of my personal life, of having a personal life, I've traveled. And in those travels, I've alienated members of my family because I've spent, a fourth of my life in the Middle East, and I've been in really bad situations there. And members of my immediate family and members of my extended family, they don't understand that. Why would you want to go there? You're a bunch of Arabs. Why would you want to go there? You can't help them. They're a bunch of idiots. They're Muslims, And I'm like, no, I actually have friends there, and I think I can actually help them make their world a little bit better. So, having to overcome all of that isn't easy. And I think that's the hardest thing is you still struggle with that. And I think all of you will. I mean, everybody has to transcend all of those early personal barriers in order to go on and be better.
So what's the best?
Wow, that was really deep. Right? I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Bring Snoop Dogg back. Snoop Dave. Old Snoop Dave in here.
Okay, so what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Can I say it? Don't fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? That's kind of hard because I'm one of these people that is always asking questions. I mean, I have never looked for a job ever in my life. I've always just met people, talked to them, called them up, and then said, "You got anything that I can help you with?" That's how I've been employed. And now I just go, okay, I'm gonna go do this. I was reading all these articles in The Economist about West Africa, and I go, wow, I should be doing things in West Africa because there's all kinds of problems there, and they got all of these resources and all of this money, and the Russians and the Chinese and everybody are in there trying to scratch and crawl and steal from these people. And I'm like, I can help them figure that out. So I called a couple friends of mine, and 2 months later, I'm in West Africa starting a bank. It's like, the best advice that I ever got, I probably haven't gotten it yet. I'm probably still going to get it. Somebody in West Africa is going to teach me something. And it'll probably be some 12-year-old girl. That's my bet. It'll be some little girl that will say something that just makes me fall apart. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. Have you had advice?
I've had advice, but I don't know if I've had the best advice ever yet. Just same as you. I mean, I'm only 21, so still a long way to go.
I'm significantly older. 40 fucking 5 years. Not that I care. I hate you for being 21. I don't want to be 21. Advice is a weird thing, by the way. You know, advice. I delineate advice between advice and counsel. Advice is somebody's opinion, and you got to be careful when you take advice because people are just, you know, they can dish it off. And there's a famous adage that opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, and they think everybody else's stinks. So I think it's something like that. I probably messed it up. But the bottom line is, when you get counsel from somebody, it's active, and you're getting counsel from somebody who's actually had experiences that you can draw on, and you respect. So don't think about getting advice from somebody. Get counsel from somebody, because you get counsel from a lawyer who's telling you what are the tricky things you got to be careful about when you're doing something, or how do you defend yourself in a lawsuit, or all of that stuff. It's counsel, and that has a more substantive anchor to it. And anyway, that's it. That was a long answer too.
Well, so what's one thing that you want students to benefit from your visit here today?
They would all send me a bottle of Guinness. I know now I'll get them if you put this on the air. And I don't really want them. I just wanted to say that. You know, I think the main thing is, there's three things. The first one is that if you're going to live a creative life, you have to understand that facts and data and information are just as important at applying creative solutions to anything as your instinct, your artistic judgment, or your attitude or your aptitude. You have to use information. You have to know how to analyze things, because being creative is not, oh, I got this really cool idea. It's, how does that idea fit in the bigger world? How does it change the bigger world? How do you sell it into the bigger world? Who's going to buy it? And how do you get that idea to kind of live and operate in the bigger world? So I think the first thing is you gotta know how you think. You gotta know how your mind works, and you gotta use information. And the second thing is you actually have to live with frustration and pain and discomfort, and if you're going to do anything, because the world is really complicated. It's getting harder and harder, and the chances of you being successful in the beginning are slim. So you really have to be dogged, you have to be determined, and you have to not give up easily. You have to enjoy risk. You have to be prepared to put up with a lot of pain. And sometimes it's pain that you inflict on the people that are in your life with you. That if you really want to achieve something that's exceptional, you have to make sacrifices. And sometimes the people in your life don't want to make those same sacrifices, so it's hard. And then I think the third thing is to just be interested and be engaged in the world. I'm really disheartened by the problems in our political differences with the rest of the world. I had the luxury of being alive and working in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when you could actually travel anywhere in the world freely and not feel too afraid and not feel like bad things could happen around you and you would be at risk. But in the last 10 years, all of that's changed. I mean, there are beautiful, beautiful places in Africa and the Middle East and South America and Asia that you can't go to now. And you can't go to without putting yourself in great jeopardy. And I think that's a missed opportunity for all of us to kind of break down the barriers of our cultural differences and our religious differences. And I think, stay interested. Don't think that you have all the answers. Use facts, and not be afraid to do things that are going to cause you some pain and have some risk. And laugh. And make out. And kiss people. And hug. And be happy. Happy people live longer.
Let's see. What's one thing about yourself that most people don't know or wouldn't expect from you?
I think I'm going to tell you. Oh, I haven't told anybody else this deep, dark secret, but I'm going to let everybody in Chico know that
Figured I'd give it a shot.
I don't know. I'm not a secretive guy. I'm pretty open about my life, and I am because I'm kind of a public figure. I've run public companies. I've been in front of the camera a lot. I've done a lot of international relations work, so it's pretty hard for me to hide. I can tell you a story about the first time I got caught with condoms.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. That sounds interesting. You can't leave us hanging like that.
So I was 15 years old, and my mother, I wasn't using them. I mean, by the way, this is like, 1962. So this is before any of you were even in your parents' mind. Not even in your grandparents' mind. Anyway, so it was in the early 1960s, and I'm 15 years old, and the cool thing to do is have a condom in your pocket. I don't know why. Nobody was using them. So my mother, who's a Catholic grade school teacher, finds the condom in my pocket. And by the way, this is a little bit dirty. Does that matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
That's fine.
We have a sex column, so,
Okay, so anyway, so what happens is my mother catches me with this condom in my pocket, and she gets mad at me, and she says, your father's going to have a talk with you when you get home. And I'm like, this is, by the way, one of the places where my creativity came in handy. I'm like thinking, going, oh my God, he is going to kick my ass. I am toast. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? And we lived in St. Louis at the time. We only lived about 2 miles from the Mississippi River. And one of the things we used to do was we would ride our bikes over to the Mississippi River, stupid people, and go swimming in the river. 3 or 4 of my friends drowned, but we still thought it was cool. So my dad comes home, and he takes me into the basement, and I'm thinking, uh-oh. And I'm like ready for my punishment, and I'm not sure what he's going to do. And he wasn't a bad guy. He was actually a great dad. But he gets me downstairs, and he says, what are these for? And I go, oh, Dad, you have to put those on when you go swimming in the river. And he goes, what? And I go, yeah, Dad, you got to put these on because, those amoebas, they can get inside your pee hole. And if they get inside of your pee hole, you can't get them out. And then you got to go to the doctor, and they got to put like glass tubes down there, and then they got to like put a wire in there, and they got to pull the amoebas out, and it's really, really painful. So you got to wear these condoms. You wear rubbers when you go into the Mississippi River. And I'll never forget the expression on my face. My dad just looks at me and he goes, do you think I'm the dumbest fucking person on the face of the earth? He said, do you literally think I am that fucking stupid that I'm going to believe that? He said, look, you know what they're for. And I go, because I'm now into the lie and the bullshit, I can't hold back. I go, no, Dad, you don't understand. That's what they're for. And he snatches me, and he puts me nose to nose, and he goes, listen to me. You're insulting my intelligence, and I'm going to make a decision right now of whether or not I beat you to death or whether or not I allow you to insult my intelligence again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you down. You're not going to say another word. I'm going to go upstairs, and then we're done. But if you open your mouth and you try to tell me that one more time, I'm going to consider you thinking me I'm completely stupid, and I'm obligated to kill you. So don't make me kill you. And then he lets go, and he walks upstairs. And that was it. And about 10 minutes goes by, and my two older brothers come downstairs, and they go, "You dumb shit. Are you fucking crazy? Did you really expect the old man to believe that?" And I was like, "Hey, he didn't beat me." And they were like, "That was the stupidest thing in the world. It was absolutely the stupidest thing in the world." So, fast forward 25 years. My father's died when I was was 19, 18. And then my mother is kind of at the end of her rope, and I spent a lot of time with her. I basically stopped my job and took the time to help my mother transition. And so, meaning die. So we just smoked pot. That's what we did. My mom and I smoked pot and told stories. But what I did was I said, "Hey, Mom, remember when I told Dad that story about the condom? What did he say?" And she goes, "He sat on the bed and laughed for 20 minutes. He couldn't believe that you actually had concocted that story. And then he said to me, 'I will never have to worry about that kid. That kid will make it. He will figure something out. I never have to worry about that kid. All the rest of them, I'm not sure about, but not that kid.'" And that was it.
That really happened.
That totally happened. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he wasn't wrong.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't insult him. I did. When you're into the bullshit, man, you got to stay in the bullshit. Because the last thing I could have done was gone, "Okay, Dad, I was only kidding. I was only fucking with you, Dad." Then it would have been like bang. I was like,
You gotta commit to it.
I committed to it, man. It was my story, and I stuck to it.
Stood your ground.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Condom pee holes.
Okay, we're almost finished here. What's next for your career? If you know, or if you have any plans.
I don't know. I don't think about that. I've never had a plan. Never had one plan. I was on an airplane flying back from Athens. No, I was flying back from Jerusalem in the early 70s. I quit my job and was getting on a plane in Athens. And I ended up sitting next to some guy, and we started talking, and he turns out to be the president of Schlumberger, big French oil field company. And we have a great time, have a couple glasses of wine, and he was like, "What are you going to do when you're in New York?" Because I was moving to New York. I just made the decision. I was leaving Jerusalem and Beirut, and I was going to move to New York. And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, why don't you come and see me?" And I was like, I don't know what Schlumberger is. It was by far the most successful company in the world. And I'm like sitting there saying no to the guy. And the guy's like basically saying, "Come on, you want to come and work for me? You'll have a lot of fun." And so I kind of said, no, and I took his card. And as I'm getting off the plane, there's a woman getting off the plane. She had 3 kids, one who was an infant, and one who was about 2 years old, and one who was about 4 years old. Well, the 4-year-old projectile vomits as soon as we get into customs. And the 1-year-old, who she's holding, has explosive diarrhea, and she's holding her. And I'm like 3 people behind her, and I'm watching this happen. And the president, I didn't know the president of Schlumberger is like over here watching all of this happen. And she spoke Portuguese. I spoke Portuguese. So I walk up and I say to her, "Let me help you, don't worry about this." I take the kid who's throwing up, I take him over, I wipe his mouth, I start talking to him, I help her go through customs. And this guy from Schlumberger comes over to me and he goes, "I'll pay you $80,000, and this is a lot of money then. You start work tomorrow." And I said, "What am I going to do?" And he goes, "I don't know, but I've been coming to New York for 25 years and I've never seen anyone help anybody." And he said, "What you just did tells me that you have to work for me because you can solve any problem that you face." And that's how I've run my whole life. I've never really looked for a job. I talk to people, I engage, I'm interested, and I'm moving. And I think that's what we all have to do. And that's what I would encourage every kid in this school to do. is to engage other people, talk to people, find out how the world works, figure it out. Don't worry about it. Don't have a plan. The plan you have is, what's the adage? Man plans, God laughs. I mean, I'm not sure you can put a plan together. I think you can have some hopes and some faith and a little bit of a little dream, but beyond that, just start doing shit.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
What's the single biggest problem at Chico?
Did you say there?
Drinking, social problems, or just any problem at all?
What's the single biggest issue facing
Probably
the students?
the party school.
Image?
Yeah.
Or maybe
I have a nephew that went here, by the way, who's in medical school. He graduated from here about 4 years ago. He's in medical school at Columbia. I mean, got straight A's, was a chemistry and biology major. Said it was, he went to the University of Colorado first for a year, and he said this school was 3 times better. Said he had better teachers, better student-teacher ratio, and he learned more.
It's absolute truth.
And so I would say, you know, the fastest way to overcome that is talk about your graduates. Send some people out into the universe that make a difference. Send some people out into the universe that actually can say, hey, I went there. I mean, Santa Cruz used to have the same problem. And, you know, I don't know if they had the problem of being a party school, but they had the party of being the pot school. And,
But they use that to recruit from too.
yeah. But I mean, you know, that's one of the best science programs in the United States, one of the best economics programs in the United States. And I would say the same thing here. Your engineering school is one of the best engineering schools in the country. And you get the people that come out of this engineering program get some of the best jobs in, you know, computer business. So results speak louder than anything else. Don't try to rebrand it. Don't try to figure it out. And so what if you party? I party. I work really hard all the time. And when I'm not working, I'm having the best time of anybody in the whole world. And that's okay. I would probably not apologize for it. I would say, you're right, we do. But we also really apply ourselves here. And we got a lot of really good students. So if you don't know how to have fun after you've worked hard, you probably should go to one of those other schools. I would also probably turn it around.
Anything else you?
So then, considering what you said, like when you asked us, what do you think the biggest problem here at Chico State is, and I thought about, in general, I think a lot of schools have problems like that. So would you say that students today just like follow through? You know what I mean? Like you said, like you never really went and like applied for a job. Instead, you just kind of, when you saw something, you went ahead and did it your own way. Would you say that that's what today's generation lacks as far as like trying to find or make something of themselves? Like, for example, like even when it came to like applying here for to be a videographer, like I didn't even see a sign on the wall or anything. If anything, I was screwing around on the internet and found a Reddit post that he made. and that's exactly how I came like and got involved here, because this is what I wanted to do. And like it's my senior year, and I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, I want to do all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? I like recording and like coming up and writing ideas and whatnot for TV shows, even little skits with my friends. So I was like messing around on Reddit, and I just stumbled upon this opportunity. So do you think that maybe people just like to follow through to?
First of all, everybody's an individual. They all have their own issues. You got to overcome those, like I said about the story thing. But the main thing is, I don't know if they lack follow through, but the hardest thing in the world when you're starting out is trying to figure out what's the right thing to start with. And the truth is, it doesn't matter. Just do things. And if you really believe in yourself, just start doing stuff, and it will find you. It's a lot harder today. I mean, I've said this a couple of times today. You know, my generation didn't do a great job of leaving the world in a better place for you guys. I mean, the economy sucks, and not only does it sucks in a way where finding valued employment opportunities for a recent graduate is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. It's getting tougher because we've allowed a lot of the institutions that we set up to fail. And in their failure, they've been unfunded and lesser funded. So, you know, it's hard to figure out what is the right thing to do. But what I've learned personally from the digital platforms that are on stream, coming on stream, and are available as options for new startups, that you probably have a wider opportunity for starting your own business or doing your own thing than I ever did in 1968 when I got out of college. I mean, and the reason is you got digital production equipment, you got digital distribution, you can literally make something, put it on the air, get a little traction, promote it on Facebook, use your social media contacts, see if other people start to like it, and if they do, do more. If they don't do that again, find something else. And maybe it's not creative media. It also could be products. I mean, you can bring a product to market and put it up on Amazon or any website and get product into the marketplace so much simpler and a lot less expensive. So I think if I were in college today, I'd be trying to figure out what kind of a business I wanted to start on my own. Because I think that's really where the opportunity is. And at some point, and I think it's going to happen soon, somebody is going to say, no more motherfucking fast food. At some point, somebody is going to go, close up all this fast food shit. We don't want it in our goddamn community. We don't want to be eating that crap anymore. And the minute that that starts to happen, the opportunity for entrepreneurs to feed the people that have been fed through those fast food facilities something that's more community-based, something that's healthier, something that has more nutritional value in it, that opportunity is going to rise up. And maybe what will drive that opportunity is that if you start creating fast food structures and menus that don't have the crap of the other ones. So right next door to the McDonald's, open up a veggie burger stand. Start selling veggie burgers and whole, fresh cut, homegrown, organic potatoes. I don't know. I have no idea, but you know what? I'd bet on it. I'd bet on it because there's a lot of people that would be going, wow, I'd rather go there. I'd rather go there. I want my kids to eat a veggie burger. And I'm a vegan. I try not to eat meat. I'm not a complete vegetarian. I'm not a complete vegan, but I do everything I can not to eat meat. And I do that because it's healthy and because it's a better world. So I think create your own opportunities. You have a better chance today because the institutions are going to start failing. And I think the fast food business is going to die fast. So is the bottled soda business. It's already getting hurt dramatically by schools dropping them and stopping them. And I think there's an opportunity for fresh drinks. And you're seeing it if you go into the Whole Foods. The problem is it's at a premium price. So you can't afford it, because it's only being sold in a whole paycheck. But, those kinds of business opportunities are going to come up. And that's what I'd be doing.
So it just really boils down to the science of it then, huh? In a sense, like of trying to...
The reason I live in the bigger world and I'm engaged, and I don't know if you heard any of the other stuff that I was saying in these other presentations, but I read voraciously. And I read about 8 to 12 magazines every month. I don't read anything that has anything to do with celebrity bullshit. I hate that crap. I read newspapers every day, but I read tons of magazines. And I also read at least 6 and most months 8 to 10 books a month. I'm a voracious reader. And there's no subject matter that I'm not interested in. So the result is I know about the food business because I'm sitting here watching these trends. And when you watch that trend, you just sit there and you go, oh, wow, there's probably a business opportunity. What I should be doing is opening up vegetarian burger stands right next to every McDonald's. Because that's what McDonald's did. They opened up their stores. Starbucks does the same thing. They go see where the local coffee shop that's thriving is, and they open up a Starbucks right next to it because they know that that's a good traffic place.
Walmart does the same thing.
And Walmart does the same thing, so why don't we do it? It's just, let's get rid of these fast food places. Get rid of the soft drink businesses. Find other ways. I mean, but I think like that because I'm in this bigger world and I'm reading stuff and I'm feeling those trends and I'm feeling social engagement happening at a different level. I mean, one of the startups that I've invested in that I'm now trying to get a big funder for is an aquaponic lettuce business. And the reason is really simple. I go into a grocery store and I look at the lettuce and it's shit. And not only is it shit, it's like $4.50 for organic lettuce. And I try to eat organic food. And I'm like, are you kidding? And then I go, a couple stalls down and I look at, this bib lettuce that's grown, and I'm living in Los Angeles, and this stuff is grown in Salinas, which is in Northern California. And I'm like, the lettuce cost about 12 cents to grow. And it costs probably 75 cents to ship it. That's stupidity. Let's find a way to grow lettuce right next door to the grocery store. Why not? There's no footprint. You can do it in a greenhouse. You can do it with aquaponics, so it's complete. There's just a little bit of water evaporation. I mean, the fish will feed it their poop and get all the fertilizer you need, and lettuce grows in 30 days. So I basically found a organic farmer and put together a business model, and now I'm going to go do it. I've done a couple tests with a few greenhouses, and I'm like, right next to every grocery store I want to have a grow. Why not? Then the lettuce costs 85 cents. You can buy it for $1.50, and none of that goes towards transportation and gasoline and bullshit. So how did I think of that? Because I'm sitting in a store, and then I start going, oh, this is really expensive. Why is it so expensive? How can lettuce be $4? And then I start paying attention to where it's coming from, and I'm like, well, there's the reason. So being in a bigger world allows you to think deeper and broader at the same time. Anyway, that's it. Now I'm done.
Anything else?
Now I'm done.
Okay.
I want liquor. I don't want liquor.
Well, I was gonna say we can take care of that.
No. No, I'm cool.
You've come to the
Thanks.
right town. You heard
Yeah.
about
Yes,
it.
I know.
All policy.
Actually, I went to a couple bars. I went to 3 bars downtown last
If
night.
you turn off the video, we can tell you, this is a party school, by the way. So, take care of that.
No. They can leave the video on. I don't care. People can watch me do anything.
Just because, I'm curious, what bars did you go to?
I don't remember any of their names. They're all right around the hotel.
Yeah, so at the Hotel Diamond downtown, so.
Oh, okay, so there's,
They were 2 of them were total college bars. Man. They were just full of young people, and I just went in and just started insulting people. Made a lot of friends, and then on the way back, I went into the wrong bar and didn't make a friend. But he was a 70-year-old cranky fuck, and I just made fun of him.
That'd be either Duffy's or Town Lounge or something like that.
The Town Lounge.
Town Lounge, right?
Yeah. And he was cranky, and I was like, I needed to have somebody get cranky at me. I thought it was funny. And he didn't.
You've done more social experimenting like that than anyone else I've ever known. Just in the times that I've been with you, I've watched you experiment.
Well, because you got to find out where the
Interaction, feedback.
you got to find out where the limits of people are. You got to like poke them a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, you only find out what people are really like when you get a little emotion. You just like poke them a little bit. So this guy's in there, and he's got a big beard, and he's sitting at the bar, and there's like nobody sitting around him. And so I went and I sit next to him, and he goes, "Who are you?" I went, "I'm Dave. What's your name?" And he goes, "I don't have to tell you my name." I said, "No, you don't have to." I said, "And you know, I really don't give a fuck." And he goes, "Well, you don't have to be dirty." And I said, "You're right, I don't, but you don't have to be cranky and nasty." I said, "I'm going to move." And he goes, "Yeah, you should, asshole." So that was it. So then I just went, "Okay, I can't move now. I have to show you how big of an asshole I can be." And so we just went at it. And the bartender kept coming over, and he was like, "Are you okay, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just having fun with the fucker." And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "But this guy is actually getting angry." Then I said, "No, I don't think we'll fight." But I said, "I'll tell you what, I got $50, and I will challenge you to a wrestling match out front. But we got to go in the back and get olive oil, pour it on each other, and we got to strip down to our underpants. And if you'll do that, go outside and wrestle with me, I'll put $50 up if you can pin me." "I'll kick your ass." It was like, "You're not going to kick my ass. You're an old man. Shut up." I mean, like, I'm old, you're old. Why would you want to do this? This is like the dumbest thing in the world. And all of these students are all like, "Oh my God, this is hysterical. Look at these two old fuckers." and all I was doing was making fun of the guy, and the guy just kept getting madder and stupider. So I was like, "You should have another drink because you're obviously getting really smart. You're one of those people who the more you drink, the smarter you get. Have another drink. I'm buying whatever this man's drinking, I'm buying it for him. Give him 2. I love to see guys like this. I'm not drinking your liquor." I was like, "now that's a stupid person. That's a really wise thing. Somebody who you're arguing with is going to buy you a drink." I was like, "Where did you come from? You're from Saturn or Uranus." Anyway, "I know people like you." I was like, "Good. I'm gay, and I'm from Hollywood, and I love Obama." And that was it. He went batshit. "I knew it. I knew it." And I just was like, "Come on, man, let's get down to our underpants." I started to take off my shirt. I was like, "I don't mind taking my clothes off, man. You want to wrestle? I'll kick your ass. You take that shirt off, I'll kick your ass." I was like, "Cool. That'll be fun." The bartender's like, "Please, can you guys take this outside?" I was like, we're not going in there." I said, "He's full of shit, and I'm just fucking with him." And he's like, "Well, I thought so," but he says, "I think this guy's really means it." I said, "Yeah, he does, but it's the liquor. And I'm just trying to have some fun and provide some entertainment without having to watch television." It's live theater, right? What's better than live theater?
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody has a story now in the bar to tell about. Like,
Yeah.
That's the best part, actually. Having a story to tell is like probably the best part of being a human, almost.
Is telling your story.
Yeah.
That's why you have to do everything you can to make that story as rich and deep and broad as you can possibly do it. And it's hard and harder to do that because we've so constricted our access geographically. So you have to find ways to go deeper because you can't go as broad. I mean, you can't go to Egypt. I mean, that's criminal. That's absolutely criminal that you can't go to Egypt. We haven't been able to, I mean, Syria, the souk in Damascus is one of the most beautiful places you could ever imagine, and it's gone. And it's been there since the 3rd century. The stones on the floor of that have been there since the 3rd century, and it's gone. And for what reason? For absolutely no reason. You can't go to Egypt because they're going to kill you or attack you or make you feel uncomfortable. And it's like the source of civilization is in the Mesopotamian Valley and Alexandria and Cairo, and we can't go there. That's really sad. It's really, really sad. And so we got to find other ways to get those kinds of experiences. Anyway,
guys.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you for taking your time.
Pleasure
Talking
was
to
really
me.
all mine. Nice meeting you guys.
Yes.
Take care. Make porn. Just put porn up. Just do porn. Do rabbit porn. Rabbit and turtle porn. If you can get a rabbit to hump a turtle, and you can do it, all you got to do is get. Be careful. Rabbits will hump anything.
That's true.
So you get a.
Tortoises helping each other is very interesting.
Oh yeah, that's funny too. By the way, there's a whole channel.
And that happens all by itself.
There's a whole channel with turtles having sex.
Talk about the
It's
tortoise,
hysterical. Tortoise sex on YouTube is really funny. I mean, it's really funny. But if you can get a rabbit to hump anything, especially those floppy-eared rabbits because they hump everything. So what you should do is just put rabbit turtle porn on, and everybody will watch it, and you'll make, $150,000.
Have your own YouTube channel.
Put some Don advertising on there.
And all you got to do is do a little play-by-play.
For more information on our stories, you can go to theorion.com.